So I'll start with Dr. Prabhu. With your extensive background in medical technology and current focus on disease reversal, what role does a plant-based lifestyle play in daily practice in maintaining cardiovascular health?
Thanks. There are three key things, and they are completely based on the difference between animal foods and plant-based foods. The first one is lack of cholesterol in plant-based foods, right? Second one is fiber. Animal-based foods don't have any fiber. And the third one is antioxidants. We don't think about this as much, but animal-based foods do not have any antioxidants. So these three criteria, these three things actually, helps reduce inflammation, helps reduce the plaque buildup because of, all the saturated fats and all that we've been talking about. And of course, fiber has been shown to kind of like, my wife says, like a jadu. It actually gets rid of absorption, decreases the absorption of fat. And that actually has been shown time and time again to not only prevent but also reverse cardiovascular disease.
So it's been said a healthy heart also necessarily leads to a happy heart. Is it easy for physicians to incorporate it in their daily practice?
I think it's, because of the fact that there is a lot of attention on, actually mostly dairy, it's very hard for physicians to, say this, but then if they show that data actually exists for over 100 years, we have data that shows that a plant-based nutrition can actually help, not just the heart, but, all kinds of chronic diseases, right? Having said that, some people don't want just data, they want to see anecdotal evidence. And what my wife and I at least do is we are very forthright and very open. In fact, you can go on YouTube and find all kinds of stuff that I was suffering when I was in my 40s and 50s. I tell them right up front. I had these things. I have genetic preponderance for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, hypertension. None of them exists at my age right now. So, and my wife says the same thing. She has some really terrible genetic disorders that she's staving off because of a whole food plant-based diet. So that's the second thing. And the third one, of course, we tell them, you do this and we promise you can take medicines, okay? We're not going to say don't take medicines and we are all naturopath or, natural. We will give you the medicines as required, but first try this intervention and then we'll go to the next step. So that's just my, little tip on.
Thank you for that. Dr. Manali, and the sugars come rolling down. That's a lovely line that I've often sang to myself when I started practicing plant-based diets. Can you share a single isolated case study that was a wonder to you on diabetes remission that highlighted the impact of a holistic approach, including the pillars of medicine?
Thank you. So recently, I think about 3-4 months back, an 83-year-old lady, she came to me with her reports. So she was not on any medications, she was free of all the chronic diseases till then. And in her present report, what I saw was that her HbA1c, it was about 8.9, okay? And her fasting glucose levels were over 200, PP was over 300. So her family was like, do we start on medication? I said, can you show a little bit faith in me? And maybe we can try to do it without medication. Let's give it a try. Let's take 3 months. Kuch nahi hoga 3 mahine mein. So she said, okay, fine. What is it that you want me to do? I said, chalo, let's, couple of things, other than including, say, fenugreek seeds and cinnamon, etc. in her diet. The most challenging thing for anybody to tell nowadays is stop dairy. Especially to a woman who's 83, who is thriving on buttermilk and, whatnot. So I said, can you do this? She said, are you sure that it will come down? I said, let's give it a try. Kya jata hai? 15 din dekhte hain. Karke aao aap. So 15 days, she stopped the dairy products completely. She started taking fenugreek seeds. She started on cinnamon. 15-minute walk she started, because considering her age, she couldn't do more than that. Okay. She did this much. After 15 days, she came to me with her fasting sugar and her PP. Fasting had come down from 200 odd to about, I think, 134 or something, which was really great. Okay, and then even PP had come to about 200. So I said, can you see, what do you think? She said, okay, अच्छा लग रहा है, आप क्या करें अभी? तो I said, चलो let's continue. 3 महीना करते हैं, फिर आपको नहीं लगा तो then we will start on medication. Medication तो है ही. She said, okay, I will continue. I will do everything that you said. And she followed it diligently. An 83-year-old woman. That was, and very awe-inspiring, I should say.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, 83 years old, most of us have seniors, geriatrics in our homes. And it is challenging
Yes,
without family support.
absolutely.
So I think, Dr. Vadhavan, would you agree with that when something like this has been, I wouldn't say experimented, but applied to somebody so senior, then the whole family needs to come into the support system to make sure that the patient gets better? Are there challenges like this? I see a lot in India where the family support is missing.
Ma'am, whole family has to change because you have to teach them, teach the wife, teach the mother, teach the cook who is there in the family, properly how things should be ready for them, and whole family has to get involved in. They should go for a walk. So it is not a counseling of the patient; it is the counseling of the family which is actually important. And that takes time, which a physician needs to do.
I agree. Thank you very much for sharing that. Ela, I have a next question for you. You belong to the nutrition industry.
Yes.
Every year there's a new diet. What are the dangers associated with yo-yo dieting, as we call it? And how can a stable plant-based lifestyle help in achieving and maintaining your health?
So, thank you, Kajal, for this question. With the yo-yo effect, we mean that people keep on trying different kinds of diet, and we know there are different diets floating around today, like the GM diet, gym diet, zone diet, blood type diet, and the most popular being the keto diet. And we have patients coming to us after having tried all kinds of diet, and then it becomes increasingly difficult for them to actually lose weight. And then when they are cornered, they come to us. And this is where the whole food plant-based lifestyle steps in. As you may already know, this whole food plant-based diet term was coined by Dr. Colin Campbell. And it includes minimally processed fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, herbs and spices, with complete exclusion of animal foods. And the key is to include minimally processed foods and as close as they appear in nature in our diet. And apart from an effect on the weight loss, when you are on a whole food plant-based diet, you need not actually worry about portion control or calorie counting. And because they are inherently nutrient dense but low in calories. So when people are on a whole food plant-based diet, they are satiated
Due to
and
the
they
fiber.
don't feel hungry.
Yeah,
Yes,
due to the
yes.
fiber, of
And hence
course.
this is a very, very stable diet and it is sustainable.
Right. So just to confirm that amongst all the diets that we have been taught as nutritionists, the fantastic ones also, which actually give remissions within a short period of time, but they are not sustainable. They are not long lasting, and that is an issue when it comes to patient behavior and also sustenance. Suprajat, would you like to also agree or confirm that? What about the calorie count? I see Kuntal eating a lot away at the back. And I would like to know his views on calorie count on a plant-based diet, but coming back to you.
Yeah, so interesting, and thank you for that. Like Ela mentioned, it is about, and Kajal also mentioned the word sustainable. That is the key, okay? What happens with most diets is that you're doing it for a short period of time, 2 months, 3 months. You cannot continue doing it. And that's why it keeps going yo-yo, it goes back, comes back. The weight, again, once you stop dieting, you put it back. And somebody had mentioned, right, sometimes it comes back tenfold. I think Dr. Anand had mentioned it. So the thing about a whole food plant-based diet is it's a lifestyle change. It's a habit that you're building. You know, it's like brushing your teeth. It's like having a bath. You know, so you're making sure that you're eating the right food 90% of the time. What we're talking about is, you know, like a Pareto principle, right? And like Ela mentioned and Kajal mentioned, fiber. Fiber is the key. None of us are taught about fiber being a nutrient, you know, in nutrition science,
I agree,
right?
yeah.
And that is something that I insist on telling. The one thing if you have to remember every time you put food in your mouth is fiber. Does this food have fiber? Just think that. And if you follow that thumb rule, you don't have to think about diet, you don't have to think about portion control, you don't have to think about calorie counting. Okay? Jitna marzi khana hai khao, fiber ka dhyan rakho, and like Ela said, satiation, because fiber is what is going to satiate you. So that is what the focus is
Yeah,
on.
at the same time, I do want to share a disclaimer about fiber, overuse of it, right, which builds to constipation. So you need to just check in if your gut is in a position to be eating that much raw at one point in time in a meal, or have a balance. And the way I say it, Supraja, is out of 30 days, you know, the last month, just think about how many times you've thought about fiber in a meal. And that's a good way for your patients to keep a benchmark or a standard. Out of 30 days, how many times did you follow a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet to that effect?
Just one small addition, I'm so sorry, but fiber does not mean eating just raw foods. So let's have that myth cleared, okay? Fiber is not just about raw foods, but make sure that you bring in, you know, fiber on your plate.
Plus the liquids, yeah, with the fiber to bring it down. So thank you for sharing that. And we move on to Ammi. Actually, no, sorry, Smriti. You know, we have talked about the big one, which is the protein. It's coming to you. The protein factor. So protein is an important macronutrient, right? It is important just like the carbohydrates, just like the fats in our system. There's also overhyped of. It's a overuse, a lot of hype around protein. So in your practice, what is it that you see related to excess protein consumption as well? Because in plant-based foods, we are looking all the time for protein. So let's talk about excess.
Thank you, Kajal. So I am a dermatologist, and I always start this line saying, you know, skin is the mirror of internal body and mind, and skin is our laboratory. So whatever is wrong may not come in the laboratory markers, it will come in the skin maybe 2 decades before. Small examples like acanthosis nigricans, thickening of your neckline, or, you know, stubborn acne would be the leading cause of, you know, somebody diagnosing a polycystic ovaries and all those things. Nowadays, because of social media and a lot of awareness and all those gym thing that's going on, excessive protein has become the norm, especially in the teenagers and the early youths. To the tune that an RDA can be 0.8 gram per kilogram, and people are coming to me saying, I want to take 1.5 to 2 gram per kilogram because I want to build my muscle. So I just Googled, and then I saw what are the protein sources, and then I calculated this has to be itna amount of chicken, itna amount of egg, itna amount of paneer, and this. And I said, what about the other sources of proteins? No. Those things don't have proteins. Now, as Supraja and I was talking, a basic cellular molecule, a cell, the protein is a basic inherent part of it. So every single food that we are taking will have protein. But what we are calculating is only the so-called Google sources of proteins, and that causes the excessive protein myth. Now, because of that, what happens is that because we know that protein is very it makes you full. Like if you have 1 egg, you do not want to eat anything for 3 hours. And that is why you do not feel like having that much amount of plants, because plants are fiber. Now, our body does not digest proteins. It needs amino acids. Now, who breaks down the amino acids? You know, the protein cannot be taken it like that. It's a big macromolecule. From the kilodalton size, if you have carbohydrate, fat, and protein, protein is the biggest macromolecule. We have to break it down into amino acids, and then it goes into the blood vessel and then to the organs. That is done by the gut bacteria. The gut bacteria are replenished by fiber. Fiber is only there in plants. So if you are having 5 eggs in the morning, and if you're having chicken and then fish in every single meal, you just do not have sufficient fiber, that big protein goes and leaches in your blood vessel and causes diseases. In my practice, I am seeing them, small diseases like alopecia areata. There was a boy, 20 years old, gym diet with lots of proteins, and he was having alopecia areata coming up, an autoimmune disease. Similarly, stubborn acne, and they were there. And they were just not responding to the allopathic medicines. And the day I started shifting them into the plant proteins, a wholesome meal, and telling them, you know, your jawar ka roti also has it, and your green leafy vegetable also has it, please understand that the dal chawal has a complete amino acid profile as the same as your egg. And that combination started reversing that.
So thank you. I mean, it's a dynamic reasoning, and to pull all the dots together, I think what you're trying to share is that protein is overhyped. There is importance of it, but there's enough in plant foods. I mean, talk about tofu or soy or lentils also, it has the complete amino acids, right?
Yes.
And that can complement in a plant-based diet.
So we have to see the whole plate.
Right, absolutely. So thank you for sharing that, along with the uric acid, the kidney issues, and all the other issues related with excess protein intake, which come in even supplements or unnecessary use of excess protein, even when it comes to plant foods overall. I think this is a factor that we all need to consider, because throughout the discussion, one major point that I've attended every seminar is, where is the protein? And I think our body has it. The only way to test whether you're having enough or not on a plant-based diet is to test whether you're going through muscle loss. All right, if anybody wants to share about that later, we can. But muscle loss is one way to detect whether you're having protein in your plan or not. And how do you feel it? You can sense it. Know your body. All right. The next question goes to Ammi. Ammi, you have been working with pregnant women and also working in pediatric, and also interest for babies and plant-based diet. Can you share a little about calcium? Because that's the big one again, the big C, apart from the one that we won't talk about today. But tell us about calcium, because I too am intrigued, you know, do we give that supplement, shouldn't we, etc. And again, excess is a problem.
Thank you, Kajal, for the question. Actually, plants are a rich source of calcium, and we don't need the supplements to be given because leafy greens are very much rich source of calcium, plus nuts, soy, legumes, grains, etc. Supplements has their own other side effects, and like milk is also been called as a good source of calcium, but milk, again, it's an animal protein, so when you take that in, you leach out more calcium to neutralize the acid that it has. So even milk is not actually the good source of calcium. And supplements, calcium supplements are advisable only for pregnant ladies. Otherwise, if you have high calcium, I mean, our body is very intelligent. If there is high calcium in the body, the synthesis of vitamin D goes down, and vitamin D is required for calcium absorption. So though the calcium is high in the body, but the absorption is not going to happen. So calcium supplementation actually is not required that much. Even high amount of calcium is there, then it, the receptor cells for magnesium and calcium are the same. So the magnesium is also not absorbed. So ideally, calcium supplements are not required if you are on a whole food, plant-based diet. Yes.
And of course, the excess being connected to cardiovascular health, right?
Yeah.
That in itself. Would you like to share something related to pediatric and plant-based diets and calcium?
So coming to calcium, yes. All mothers are always concerned that my child needs calcium and protein. And that is why they are very insistent that I want to give milk to the child. And that's a very common discussion that happens in my clinic every time. And I have to explain to the mothers that yes, you want to give calcium and protein, I will give you alternate sources instead of milk, which are better at giving calcium, better at protein, because the milk also comes packaged with all the other additives these days, because now dairy has become an industry And this milk is procured from the cows by giving them injections, by giving them antibiotics. The feed of the cows is laced with certain substances, growth hormones, promoters, everything that comes to in the milk of the cow. From the milk it comes to us. And I am seeing a rapid increase in a lot of allergies in children, a lot of sleep apnea related issues, a lot of asthma, skin allergies, atopies coming up in children, which are on the rise. And in adults, we are seeing a lot of autoimmunity happening, increase in cardiovascular conditions. So all that we discussed, so it's not just the milk, all animal products basically. So we need to give effective replacements without compromising the nutrition. So for calcium, I always advise them simple things like you include more of ragi, more of amaranth, that is rajgira. You can have a lot of green leafy vegetables. So it's important to plan the family's meal so that the child also ends up consuming an adequate amount of healthy and clean nutrition. So for calcium, it is rajgira and ragi, green leafy vegetables, and sesame is a very rich source of calcium. And for protein, like we discussed, protein is available in all plant foods, and especially if we focus on legumes and whole grains and a balanced amount of vegetables and fruits, we are going to get all the protein that the child needs as well as the adult. So it's important to plan the nutrition and advise the mothers.
Thank you. I would like to move to Shubhashri. We've spoken enough about dietary fiber and gut health. It's become a big thing. Books are rolling out on it. And we all talk about the microbiome without seeing it. How do you feel it? And what is the impact that dietary fiber truly has on the gut microbiome?
Okay, thank you, Kajal. Thank you. So I think the gut microbiome, it was an interesting fact that it's almost 2 kgs of our body weight, approx. So I was like, we are harboring around 2 kgs of, friends within us. So if we call it as symbiotic bacteria. So the gut microbiome is a very delicate balance of both symbiotic bacteria and a few pathogenic bacteria. And these symbiotic bacteria are basically keeping these pathogenic bacteria in check. That's why we are able to maintain a good health, and also it serves a lot of other roles. The most interesting part is we take a lot of probiotic, we take a lot of capsules, we try to keep the gut healthy, but are we doing it in a more natural and with a scientific understanding of what's actually happening inside the gut? So there comes the role of dietary fiber. So dietary fiber is basically the nutrition for the gut microbiome, right? So we need a prebiotic, which is basically the substratum on which the bacteria feeds, and then the bacteria grows on it, it thrives on it, and symbiotically helps us thrive better, right? So what is dietary fiber? It's basically loosely called roughage, right? So it is basically the resistant complex carbs which are resistant to digestion in the small intestine, and hence it passes down to the colon, and in the colon the gut microbiome acts on it and ferments it. It's partially or fully fermented. This is very different from the ultra high processed food, which is very rich in fat or sugar, which basically directly goes down to the colon. It is absorbed in the small intestine and nothing is left to go to the colon. So that is the main difference between a whole food plant-based and a very high sugar, high fat, and animal-based diet.
So are you talking about the prebiotic, the postbiotic as well, which is now in a lot of conversations, and the probiotic, all present in plant-based foods? Of course, I'm sure you're talking about a diverse variety of those plant-based foods to work on the bacteria, right?
Yeah, so the substrate which we are talking about is the prebiotic, and the prebiotic is broken down into a lot of different chemicals. So basically the short-chain fatty acids. These are butyrates which will help in the immune regulation, and it goes and regulates the T regulatory cells which help in keeping the autoimmunity in check, and these short chain fatty acids help in insulin sensitivity. It actually communicates to the body and helps in insulin production and keeps the glucagon in check. It also helps in maintaining the intestinal barrier. So one small thing I would really like to add, the difference between whole food plant-based and an animal-based diet, is the key lies here. the intestinal barrier, right? When the dietary fiber is very good, our intestinal integrity is maintained because the fibers and the gut microbiome are in a healthy symbiotic state. But when the gut microbiome doesn't have the fiber, it starts feeding on the intestinal mucosa and there is a leaky gut and all these endotoxins of pathogenic bacteria enter via absorption in the colon and it causes a lot of infection, autoimmunity. So this is an important differentiation between whole food plant-based and animal-based diet.
Yes, I think, Smriti, we spoke about this as well, where the implications for hormonal, autoimmune, and allergy conditions related to the fiber. Can you quickly elaborate on this?
So here I always explain this to my patients and then they understand it very well. So this gut microbiome is not like, first of all, gut bacteria are like our soldiers, the first line soldiers. If they have been broken down, एक virus का attack आएगा और उसमें से कई सारे मर जाएंगे. That's the importance of variety of foods that we should have. Like for example, we have 5,000 green leafy vegetables in our, in India itself, और हम लोग कितना 5 या 6 खाते हैं. So your gut bacterial lining is like your channi. And if the gut bacteria are broken, that channi ke chhed are like becoming bigger. So what happens? Your toxins, your bacteria, your allergens, everything that is there, it's going in to your blood. And that's when the allergies come up. So this is the basic mechanisms for the allergens to come up. So in that case, what would we say? After the allergy test, we are doing like this thing is, so can you stop all those things? No. The answer is to just build up those gut linings. And then we have seen chronic urticaria, wheals. Isliye, our culture is so intelligent. Urticaria is called as pitta. So we know something is not going here, right? And your atopic dermatitis, your allergies, your asthmas, your hormonal problems, all of them, they become better, they become reversed or better controlled with less number of medicines.
Thank you for sharing that. So, in all, we are talking about all the nutrition, macronutrition, of course. India is never short of a carbohydrate diet. Even if it's plant-based, from morning to evening, we are full of it. That having said that, there's enough protein, there is enough natural fat, which is good, and also the micronutrients, which we spoke about, the protein, the calcium. Ila, I want to not make it boring anymore. We are going for a lunch plate. But how do you get so many micronutrients on a plant-based diet alone? Can you have a full plate of it? How do you balance the meal?
Yeah, of course. On a vegan diet, people are very skeptical about micronutrients. Basically mean vitamins and minerals. And the minerals which people are skeptical about are one, calcium, iron, zinc, and iodine.
Selenium and biotin as
yes,
well.
Yes. And vitamins B12 and D. So we have talked much about how do we get calcium. Of course, a whole food plant-based diet can supply all of these micronutrients. A few things we need to keep in mind. The iron which is found in plants is the heme iron. And it is not non-heme iron. Sorry, non-heme iron. And it is not absorbed as efficiently as a heme iron which is found in animal foods. But usually, when we eat a variety of plant foods, the people have sufficient stores of iron. It depends on the absorption depends on what kind of foods are they supplemented with. When we eat vitamin C rich foods with iron rich foods, the bioavailability increases. Secondly, zinc. When zinc is a mineral which is bound to compounds called phytates. It is bound with potassium and they form compounds called phytates which actually do not let these minerals absorbed in the body. What we can do is we can soak, we can sprout, we can ferment our foods which helps release all of these minerals and then the bioavailability increases.
Excellent. I think also food combining which naturally happens in a plant-based diet. If there's a diversity of all the all the ingredients in a food chain, the categories in a plant-based chain, whether it is the fruits and vegetables, the nuts and seeds, the dark green leafy vegetables, and minimal oils, of course, then you will see that there is, over a 24-hour period, a good amalgamation of amino acids, the zinc, the calcium, all of that, right? I would like to just simply talk about a whole food plate, Supraja. If you can answer in a few, few words actually, because everybody is getting restless talking about food all the time. We need to actually present it to them as well.
So the key thing that you need to focus on is try to fill your plate with colors, right? So look at through the day, am I eating enough colors? And at least 50% of your plate. And this is also from what recommendations globally are talking about, right? Even our latest ICMR NIN recommendation talks about filling up 50% of your plate with fruits and vegetables, okay? So how you want to eat them is up to you. There is a lot of science saying, oh, fruit khao, ye khao, wo khao. Up to you, make sure you include. And we saw our presenters also earlier talking about G-bombs and, you know. So in the order of your plate, if you can bring in whole grains, remove the polished, bring in whole dals, legumes, sprouts in some form, you know, fruits and vegetables. And if you need certain other sources of, you feel that you need to eat something else, minimize that. But through the day, just keep focusing on bringing in these foods.
Yeah.
And we've been speaking about it all throughout, you know.
So Supraj, I also talked, you know, because sometimes it gets difficult in a family. And I live in a joint family. I have my mother-in-law also staying with me. And, you know, sometimes I try to make sure that, okay, it's maybe not so practical for every member to do it every time. But also let's talk about the chutneys, the soups, the, you know, the others that need to come besides the smoothies and the raw salads, etc., right? Which is so convenient and easy in today's world. So there are these quick methods as well. Always keep dips, chutneys in your fridge. Every meal, bring it out. Have a lemon with it. All of that, right? So,
perfect. So conventionally, when you look at what your regular plate at home, how do you make it healthier is what your thought should be. So even if the entire family is going to take time to come on board, look at what can I add. So like Kajal said, you know, the chutneys that are regular part of an Indian diet, make sure that you increase the quantity of chutney, cut down on the quantity of that whole roti, even if it's whole wheat roti. 4 roti khate ho bhai, 1 kam karo, thoda sabzi zyada karo, tel kam karo. You know, these are very practical ways.
Monograin as well.
Yeah.
Either roti or rice. More millets, because, you know, the millets, I don't know if it's been spoken earlier, I was not here, but millets do bring down your blood sugars. They have a tendency to maintain your heart health. They are much more grainy in nature. So having that vis-a-vis the refined wheat roti or the refined rice roti, etc. And plus always make sure that there is some color of vegetable on that plate. Sometimes when you can't make fancy salads at home, you know, even a simple kakadi tomato on the plate just makes it different from the rest of the cooked food, you know. And even cooked food, it's been heated, you know. So if you are thinking that if you are getting those vitamins and minerals in a cooked plate, even though it's plant-based, it can give you a blind thing as well. So food combining, diversity is the biggest thing. Have lots of compartments of all the categories that you have into your daily life, into your daily diet, and over a 30-day period, see how you can go. I have
to add to you,
I'm sorry, I'm out of time, but there's people hungry. But I have 2 questions, more important ones, because I can never miss mental health. I have seen throughout the day, we've talked about biochemistry, physiology, you know, mental health is one thing that I would like one person to answer. It's going to be given to one speaker. And I think that goes to, who wants to answer it? Just please raise your hand. Is it Subhashri or, yeah, just quickly please. I have one question for Dr. Wadhwan from the audience.
So the most often missed out factor is mental health in general practice. Because in general practice, we often look at the physical health and refer people to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. But we also understand we don't have much time. I understand that. But the key lies in the whole food plant-based, which has an immense effect on mental health. That's a very great advantage. And there are a lot of studies which has been done that Mediterranean diet have a very good percentage of reduction in depression, anxiety, and so many others. And mouse models have shown that specifically when a person is on, when a mouse is given whole food plant-based diet, it has shown a drastic improvement in social interactions. There are a lot of mice models in which it has been proven. And some studies on even mothers who have the opposite, like high-fat diet, very less fiber diet, their infant children, they have shown an altered gut microbiota, which is also correlated with social deficits. So which was again reversed by whole food plant-based diet. These trials have been conducted and have been proven.
Yeah, the dopamine, the serotonin. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it, your daily energies. Won't that indicate your state of mental health on a daily basis? So, energies definitely go up. I would like to pass this question on to Dr. Vadwan as well for mental health. Can you please share a little bit more?
I am actually doing research on this topic, that how much whole food plant-based diet is actually effective. So I will tell you a practical tip rather than going into theory. Anybody who is taking antidepressants or anti-anxiety medicine, just tell that person to take small 6 to 7 servings of vegetables and fruits. 6 to 7 small katoris in one day he should take 6 to 7 katoris, and tell him to walk for 10,000 steps. It will not matter how many drugs he is taking, whether he is on a single antipsychotic, double antipsychotic, antidepressant or anti-anxiety. You can just see within 3 months he will be leaving that medicine, because it's a topic of my interest and I am doing it for, doing search on it for 5 years. I have presented this topic in my last visit to Bombay, and just practical tip I am telling you. But you have to take multiple servings of vegetables and fruits and do a walk of 10,000 steps, and you can actually reverse 99% of the times your antipsychotics and antidepressants, and you can share feedback to me maybe in 1 month or 2 months.
Dr. Prabhu, this is amazing actually to hear, Dr. Vadwan. I think everybody should know what are the results of that research that you're doing. Dr. Ajay, I want to speak about longevity.
Yes.
It is one thing that we all aspire, and I'm going to end the session with that. We talk about whole food plant-based diet, adding quality to your years. How much research and how accurate are we on the path where whole food plant-based diet is actually adding more years to your life? We know of the Okinawans, we know of the Blue Tribe, sorry, why did I say Blue Tribe? Blue zones.
Yeah.
Blue zones. Blue zones, but how right are we on that path to thinking we can actually extend lives of people?
So, so anecdotally, we already seen, you guys are all familiar with the blue zones, right, in the world, 5 blue zones that where people are living, their average age is like 80s, right, and they easily surpass 100 years. So that's just anecdotal. You can see the evidence in populations. But research has been going on for decades and decades on, I'll just hit off on 2 aspects. I won't go into too much technicality because I get a little carried away. You might have heard about telomeres. Those are the little ends at the DNA and RNA. As we age, those little fuzzy ends become smaller and smaller, and that's what can kind of predict your age, actually your biological age. So as we consume more whole food plant-based foods, do more mindfulness exercises, we do more physical exercises, these things actually increase those telomere sizes. So that shows us experimentally that we are increasing our longevity. And the second one I just want to hit upon real quickly is epigenomics, and that's like really close to my heart. It's a topic that's been coming up more and more, that we can change some of our genes that we're born with. We don't have to have what our parents gave us. So we can actually turn on and turn off certain genes and make things happen. For example, I mean, I'm a living example of not getting diabetes at my age when my dad and my mom, both of them had them in their 50s. So simple stuff I just wanted to mention. So these two things are going to look upon these things, and you'll find that there's tons of evidence.
Thank you very much. Thank you, experts. I know we are short of time. We had so much to discuss, but I'm sure that the audience, if they have Q&As, even for later, there's one Q&A that's coming for Dr. Vadwan about complications of heart health, but he can share it. But otherwise, we are happy to do a quick panel session online for the Q&As. We do not have much time because the activation of my hunger gene has come up. When will that stop?
Brilliant.
So, having said that, thank you very much. Thank you, Pan. It's been a great audience. And thank you, panelists.
As I can see the lot of enthusiasm for this CME, especially from the Mumbai. So we will be having another online session. We would like to invite you all to come and see this session, panel discussion again. And stay tuned. This is the QR code. Please scan it and join this group so that we can keep on posting all the details about it. Thank you so much. Please go for the lunch. Like 80% people have already gone. Okay. All the ambassadors and speakers and panelists, please stay here. We will have one group picture.
I just want to thank Pan India for having such a brilliant CME, such a brilliant session. And now all we have to do is just to learn how to cook. And, you know, I know all of us will love it, but that learning and the recipes have to become a part of our daily cooking. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.